Peace did not come with fanfare or treaties signed in gold ink. It came slowly, like dawn after a long night. The Virith Armada fractured. Some ships returned to their homeworlds carrying stories of a human cruiser and a silver-eyed woman who chose understanding over vengeance. Others stayed, docking beside the Aurora's Echo in the quiet rings of Saturn, their crews stepping onto human decks with hesitant hands and open eyes. High Warden Kor vanished. Some said he fled into the void, ashamed. Others claimed he walked into the ruins of the shattered moon and let the silence take him. His name became a warning, a lesson in what fear could do when left unchecked. On Earth, the skies were still dark. Cities lay in rubble, but whispers spread. Hope, once a fragile thing, now had roots. Refugees returned. Farms were replanted. Children looked up at the stars not with dread but curiosity. Maya was offered command of the new United Fleet, a coalition of human survivors and Virith defectors. They called her the Bridge Builder. She stood on the bridge of the Aurora's Echo, listening to the offer over a secure channel, then declined. "I'm not a fleet commander," she said. "I'm just someone who asked for a hug at the right time." She turned to Lyria, who sat by the observation window, wrapped in a soft blanket. Kale was no longer a creature she could hold, but his presence lingered, in the gentle hum of the lights, in the warmth of the air, in the way the ship seemed to sigh when they entered a room together. Lyria had survived, but she was changed. Her silver hair now held streaks of gold. Her eyes still held storms, but also calm after rain. She no longer glowed with power, but with something quieter. Peace. "What now?" Maya asked, sitting beside her. Lyria looked out at the stars. "Now we listen." And so they did. The Aurora's Echo was refitted, not for war, but for travel. Its weapons were removed, its cargo bays filled with seeds, medical supplies, and books. Its comms array was tuned not to scan for enemies, but to catch faint signals from lost colonies, hidden outposts, lonely souls calling into the dark. They left the fleet behind. Their mission had no name, no orders, no destination. They simply sailed toward the edges of known space where maps ended and mystery began. Where humans hid in fear, they brought food and words of peace. Where Virith patrols still acted out of old hatred, they showed them the truth. Not with force, but with open hatches and shared meals. Sometimes they found ruins. Siltheri ruins. Lyria would walk among them, silent, touching stones that remembered her name. Kale's light would pulse in the walls, and for a moment the past would breathe again. Other times they found nothing but silence. And in that silence they left beacons, small devices that played recordings of laughter, music, and Maya's voice saying, "You are not alone." Months passed. Seasons turned in the ship's recycled air. Maya grew used to the quiet rhythm of their life. Mornings with coffee and star charts. Evenings with Lyria's soft voice telling stories of twin suns and singing trees. Nights wrapped in blankets watching nebulae bloom in colors no human eye was meant to see. One evening, as they drifted near the edge of the Andromeda Veil, Lyria leaned her head on Maya's shoulder. "You asked for a hug," she murmured. "And somehow fixed everything." Maya smiled. "I didn't fix anything." "You did. Kale did. Everyone who chose to believe in something better, they fixed it." Lyria was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't asked?" Maya thought about it. "Yeah, I'd probably still be talking to a dead ship waiting to die. You'd be fading in the dark, forgotten, and the galaxy, it would keep burning." She turned to look at Lyria. "But I asked, and you said yes, and that was enough." Outside, the stars shimmered. Kale's presence stirred in the ship's core. Not as a dragon, not as a weapon, but as a gentle pulse, like a heartbeat shared between friends. They weren't heroes in the old sense. No statues would be built. No songs would be sung in grand halls. But in small places, in hidden valleys on broken worlds, in whispered conversations between former enemies, in the eyes of children who now dreamed of stars instead of bombs, their work lived on. The Aurora's Echo sailed on, not as a warship, not as a symbol, just as a home, and sometimes that was the most powerful thing of all. Maya reached for Lyria's hand. Their fingers intertwined, warm and sure. Somewhere deep in the ship, a light glowed gold, and the universe, for the first time in a long time, felt kind. The Virith shuttle docked without incident. No weapons raised, no demands made. From its hatch stepped a single figure, tall, armored in smooth black plates, face hidden behind a featureless mask. It moved slowly, almost reverently, as it entered the Aurora's echo. Maya met it in the cargo bay, Lyria at her side. Kale was gone from her wrist, but his presence hummed through the ship's walls like a quiet song. The Virith removed its mask. Beneath was a face both alien and familiar, smooth gray skin, large dark eyes, and a mouth that trembled slightly. It looked young, scared. "I am Vela," it said in halting human speech. "I speak for the Solus Command." Maya nodded. "You're welcome aboard." Vela's gaze drifted to Lyria. Recognition flickered in its eyes. "Silthari," it whispered, then dropped to one knee. "We thought you were dust." Lyria didn't smile. "We nearly were." Vela rose slowly. "Your dragon?" "It showed us things, not lies, not tricks, truth. We saw your fear, your grief, your hope. It was like looking into a mirror." Maya understood then. The Virith hadn't surrendered out of weakness. They had seen themselves in humanity and realized they were repeating the same mistakes that destroyed the Silthari. But not all Virith felt this way. Over the next days, reports trickled in through broken channels. Some Virith fleets had broken formation, others declared truce. But a faction, led by High Warden Kor, refused to believe. They called the Aurora's echo a deception, Lyria a ghost sent to trick them into weakness. They gathered their forces near the shattered moon, a dead world orbiting a black hole, the last known grave of the Silthari. They think if they destroy the source, the dream ends, Vela explained during a council in the mess hall. Survivors, human and Virith alike, sat together for the first time. Kor believes Lyria plans to unmake reality and rebuild it in her image. Lyria laughed bitterly. "I can barely stand. I'm not rebuilding anything, but Maya saw the truth. The shattered moon wasn't just a grave. It was a tomb for the Silthari world mind, the source of all their power. If Kor activated the old failsafe there, he wouldn't just kill Lyria. He'd erase every trace of Silthari influence in the galaxy, including Kale's presence in the ship, and possibly destabilize spacetime itself. We have to stop him," Maya said. "How?" asked Cole, the skeptical engineer. "That moon is a death trap. Gravity tides, radiation storms, and now a full Virith war fleet." Lyria stood. Her voice was weak but clear. "There's one way. The awakening." Silence fell. "The full ritual," she continued. "I channel what's left of the world mind through Kale's echo in this ship. It would flood the moon with Silthari resonance. Kor's failsafe would overload. His fleet would be disabled. And you?" Maya asked, already knowing the answer. Lyria looked at her. "I won't survive it. Neither will Kale's presence. The ship will go dark again." Maya shook her head. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," Lyria said softly. "This is why I came. Not to fight. To end it." That night Maya couldn't sleep. She walked the halls, listening to the ship's new voice, Kale's voice, humming through the vents, flickering in the lights. She thought of Earth, of the people she'd lost, of the ones still hiding in the dark. She thought of Lyria's quiet strength, her impossible calm, the way she hugged back like she meant it, and she remembered something Lyria once said. "Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to stand anyway." Maya made her choice. At dawn, she called everyone to the core chamber. She laid out a new plan, not the awakening, but something bolder, riskier, human. "We don't need to destroy the failsafe," she said. "We need to rewrite it," Vela frowned. "It's coded in ancient Silthari logic. No one can alter it." "Not alone," Maya agreed. "But what if we link every mind on this ship, human and Virith, to Kale's echo? Not to attack, but to speak, to show Kor that we're not enemies. That fear doesn't have to rule us." Lyria stared at her. "It's never been tried." "Neither was hugging an elf to reboot a starship," Maya said with a small smile. Lyria's eyes softened. "You never stop surprising me." Preparations began. The Aurora's echo turned toward the shattered moon. Vela contacted sympathetic Virith commanders. Cole rerouted every power cell to the core chamber. Volunteers, human and Virith, gathered again, this time with shared purpose. As they approached the moon, Kor's fleet appeared. Hundreds of ships, black against the void, surrounding the broken world like vultures. Kor himself broadcast a message. "Silthari Ghost, you will not undo our victory. We will burn your memory from the stars." Lyria stepped onto the bridge. She looked frail, but her eyes burned with resolve. "Then let him see us." The ritual began. Kale's light surged through the ship, brighter than ever. Every person, human and Virith, linked their minds, not with commands, but with stories. A Virith child's first flight. A human mother singing to her baby in a bunker. Shared fears, shared dreams, shared tears. The beam of golden light shot from the Aurora's echo, not as a weapon, but as a bridge, straight to the heart of the shattered moon. Kor's fleet fired. Blasts tore through space, but Maya didn't dodge. She held course. The beam struck the ship's shields and passed through, absorbed by Kyle's resonance. The light grew stronger. On the moon's surface, the failsafe pulsed red, ready to detonate. Then the human Virith chorus reached it. The failsafe hesitated. Kor screamed over the comms. "No, it's a trick." But his own officers began to lower their weapons. One by one, ships powered down. Inside the core chamber, Lyria swayed. Blood dripped from her nose. Her skin turned pale as ash. Maya rushed to her. "Hold on." Lyria smiled weakly. "I'm so tired." "Then rest," Maya said. "But not yet." She pulled Lyria into her arms, tight, fierce, full of everything she couldn't say. And in that hug, something changed. Kyle's light didn't fade. It exploded outward, not in destruction, but in understanding. The golden wave washed over Kor's flagship. The warlord fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the weight of shared feeling. He saw his own fear, his own loss, his own chance to choose differently. The failsafe shut down. Silence. Then, from every ship, human and Virith, came a single signal. Ceasefire. Maya held Lyria as the ship settled into calm. The little dragon's presence remained, now woven into the very soul of the Aurora's echo. Not as a weapon, not as a ghost, but as a promise. Lyria whispered, "You asked for a hug," and somehow fixed everything. Maya kissed her forehead. Turns out what went wrong was everything else. The hug was the only thing that went right. Outside, the stars watched. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, peace had a name. And it sounded like a heartbeat. Human, Virith, and dragon all as one. News of the listening post's fall spread fast. Not through comms or signals, but through something quieter. Rumor, hope, the kind of whisper that travels on starlight. Survivors from broken fleets began to find the Aurora's echo. First a single scout ship, then a medical frigate with half its crew dead, then a group of civilian shuttles hiding in asteroid belts. They came not because they knew Maya or Lyria, but because they heard a story. A human ship, cloaked in silver light, had struck back at the Virith and lived. Maya didn't want to be a leader. She just wanted to keep her ship running and her friend breathing. But people needed a symbol, and the Aurora's echo, with its glowing vines and humming engines, became one. Lyria stayed mostly in the core chamber. She spoke little. Her silver hair seemed duller, her movements slower. Kale rarely left her side, and when he did, it was only to curl around the ship's mainframe as if holding it together with his fading strength. The new arrivals watched them with awe and fear. Some called Lyria a goddess. Others whispered she was a weapon. A few even thought she was Virith in disguise. Tensions grew. Arguments broke out in the mess hall. One night, a former engineer named Cole confronted Maya on the bridge. "She's draining the ship," he said, voice low. I checked the power logs. "Every time that dragon glows, our reserves drop. What if she's setting us up? What if this is all a trap?" Maya looked at him, tired. "She saved us. More than once. And what happens when she's gone?" Cole pressed. "When the light fades and we're left with nothing but dead metal again?" Maya had no answer. Later, she found Lyria on the observation deck, staring at the stars. Kale lay in her lap, barely moving. "You hear them, don't you?" Maya asked softly. Lyria didn't turn. "Fear is louder than silence. They're scared. We all are." "I know." Lyria's voice was thin like paper about to tear. "But fear doesn't make them right." Maya sat beside her. "Tell me the truth. How much time do you have?" Lyria was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Not much. Kale is less than half what he was. Every use weakens him. And me." "Then stop using him," Maya said sharply. "I can't," Lyria whispered. "The Virith are coming. They know we're here. They'll burn every hiding place until nothing is left. If I don't act, everyone dies," Maya wanted to argue, to beg. But she saw the truth in Lyria's eyes. This wasn't pride. It was duty. That night Maya couldn't sleep. She wandered the halls listening to the hum of the ship. Then she heard it, a voice soft and strange, not in her ears but in her mind. It wasn't words. It was feelings, warmth, sadness, a question. She followed it to the core chamber. Cale floated in the center of the room, glowing faintly. His eyes locked onto hers, and suddenly she was somewhere else. She stood on a world of silver trees and twin suns. The sky shimmered with colors she had no name for. In the distance, cities rose like living mountains, singing in harmony with the wind. Then the sky cracked. Black ships fell like rain. Fire swallowed the songs. The ground screamed, then silence. She was back in the chamber, gasping. Kyle hovered before her, eyes full of sorrow. "You showed me your home," Maya whispered. He nodded, just a small dip of his head. "And the Virith. They weren't always monsters, were they?" Cale pulsed gently. Images came again. Virith as builders, as students, as children of the Silthari. They were created to serve, to learn, to grow. But something broke. Fear took root. They turned on their makers, believing the Silthari would erase them for their mistakes. So they erased the Silthari first. Now they feared humans for the same reason. Because humans were loud, wild, unpredictable. Because they reminded the Virith of themselves before the fall. Cale's message was clear. The Virith weren't evil. They were terrified, and they believed Lyria's return meant the end of everything. Maya sank to her knees. There has to be another way. Kyle drifted closer. He touched her forehead with his snout. A new idea bloomed in her mind, not a weapon, but a bridge. Human minds were strong, emotional, chaotic. If they could link their thoughts to Cale's resonance, not to fight but to share, to show the Virith that humans weren't a threat but kin in fear, it was insane. Impossible. But so was a dragon that glowed and an elf who woke dead ships. She ran to find Lyria. "They don't need to be destroyed," Maya said, breathless. "They need to be understood." Lyria listened, eyes wide. "You want to connect human minds to Cale? It's never been done. But it could work," Maya insisted. "Your people built with harmony. Maybe we can rebuild it." Lyria looked at Kyle. The little dragon gave a weak but determined chirp. Then Lyria smiled, small, sad, but real. "Then we try." Preparations began at once. Maya gathered volunteers, pilots, medics, engineers, even civilians. Anyone willing to open their minds. Lyria taught them to focus, to hold a single thought. Peace, not war. Connection, not conquest. Cale rested in the center of the core chamber, surrounded by the group. Wires and neural links, salvaged from old medical gear, connected each person to the ship's system, which in turn linked to Cale. Maya stood at the edge, watching. She wanted to join, but Lyria stopped her. "You must stay outside," Lyria said. "Someone has to guard the link. If it breaks, they could be lost." Maya nodded, heart heavy. The ritual began. Cale glowed brighter than he had in weeks. Light spread through the chamber, wrapping around each person like a warm blanket. Their eyes closed. Their breathing slowed. Then the Virith came. Not scouts this time. A full armada. Dozens of warships, black and sharp, blocking the starlight. At their center loomed the dreadnought Solus, a ship said to have crushed 3 human fleets in one day. Alarms blared. The Aurora's echo shuddered under sensor sweeps. Maya rushed to the bridge. "They found us." Lyria's voice came over the comm, calm but strained. "Keep them distracted." "Buy us time." Maya took the helm. She flew the ship not to fight but to dance, dodging, weaving, drawing fire away from the core chamber. Blasts scorched the hull. Shields flickered. But she held on. Inside the chamber, Cale's light pulsed stronger. The volunteers began to speak, not with voices but with shared thoughts. Images of Earth, of laughter, of loss, of love. Of children hiding in bunkers, of soldiers crying after battles, of farmers watching crops burn under alien skies. Human fear, human hope. The Virith ships slowed. On the bridge, Maya saw it. Confusion in their formation. Signals scrambled. Orders delayed. Then from the dreadnought Solus a single message broke through. Not in Virith code, but in broken human speech. "Who are you?" Maya didn't answer with words. She opened a channel and played the feed from the core chamber. The raw, unfiltered stream of human emotion. Silence followed. Then, one by one, the Virith ships powered down their weapons. but the effort was too much. In the core chamber, Kale's light began to fade. Fast, Lyria cried out, clutching her chest. Blood trickled from her nose. The volunteers collapsed, gasping. Maya ran back, heart pounding. Kyle lay still on the floor, almost transparent. Lyria cradled him, tears streaming down her face. He gave everything, she whispered. Maya dropped to her knees beside them. No, not everything. She looked at the ship's console. The Vireth Armada was holding position, watching, waiting. She made a choice. She grabbed a neural link and pressed it to her temple. If he's a bridge, then I'll be the last stone. Before Lyria could stop her, Maya opened her mind, not to send, but to receive. She reached for Kale's fading spark and pulled it into herself. Pain exploded behind her eyes. Memories not her own flooded in. Silthari songs, Vireth fears, human dreams. She screamed but held on, and in that moment Kale didn't vanish. He changed. His form dissolved into golden light, then flowed into the ship's systems, not gone, but everywhere. The vines on the walls blazed. The engines sang. The very air hummed with warmth. Lyria stared, stunned. He's part of the ship now. Maya slumped, exhausted but smiling. He's not lost. He's home. Outside, the dreadnought Solus powered down completely. A single shuttle detached and moved toward the Aurora's Echo. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, someone had lowered their weapon. And in the quiet heart of a human cruiser, a dragon's choice had changed everything. The Aurora's Echo hummed with new life. Lights glowed steady. Air recyclers purred and the engines thrummed like a sleeping beast finally waking. But peace was short. The 3 Vireth scout ships had locked onto their signal. Maya stood at the bridge console, fingers flying over controls she barely understood. Lyria stood beside her, eyes closed, one hand resting on the ship's mainframe panel. Kale coiled around her forearm, his tiny claws clicking softly against the metal. They're hailing us, Maya said, voice tight. Lyria opened her eyes. Ignore them. They'll fire. Then let them try. Maya shot her a look. You don't get it. Vireth weapons don't just destroy ships. They unravel matter. One hit and we're stardust. Lyria turned to her, calm as ever. Then we don't let them hit us. She placed both hands on the console. Kale leapt onto the panel and pressed his snout against the central node. A ripple of silver light spread from his touch. The ship shuddered, not from damage but from change. Hull plates shifted like living scales. The engine pitch rose, then fell into a deep, resonant frequency that made Maya's teeth vibrate. Outside, the Vireth scouts fired. Beams of violet energy lanced toward the Aurora's Echo, but the ship wasn't where it had been. It had darted sideways, impossibly fast, leaving only a shimmer in its wake. The beams struck empty space. Maya gasped. How did you— The ship remembers, Lyria said. It was built with Silthari bones. Now it wakes. She guided the cruiser through a series of sharp turns, weaving between asteroids in a dead zone near the Helios belt. The Vireth followed, but their larger frames struggled in the debris field. One clipped a rock and spun out, its shields flickering. Maya watched, stunned. This wasn't flying. It was dancing. When they finally lost the scouts, silence returned. Maya slumped into the command chair, heart still racing. We can't keep running, she said. They'll send more. Bigger ships, Lyria nodded. Then we stop running. She led Maya to the core chamber again. The silver vines now covered half the walls, pulsing gently. In the center, a new console had risen from the floor. Smooth, organic, glowing with soft blue symbols. This is a Silthari resonance node, Lyria explained. Buried inside your ship's frame. Your engineers thought it was just structural reinforcement. Maya frowned. What does it do? It reads intent, Lyria said. Not commands. Not code. Feeling. Belief. Will. She placed her palm on the surface. The symbols shifted, forming a map of nearby space. One point glowed brighter than the others. A Vireth listening post near the ruins of Titan's moon. They're watching everything, Lyria said. Listening to every human transmission, tracking every escape pod. If we take it down, we buy time. Maybe even hope. Maya studied the map. It's suicide. That post is shielded, armed, and crawling with Vireth soldiers. Not if they never see us coming, Lyria said. How? Lyria looked at Kale. The little dragon uncoiled and floated into the air, wings spread. Light gathered around him, forming a faint, shimmering cloak. Kyle can bend light. Not just visible light, sensor waves, comms, even thought signatures. For a short time we become ghosts. Maya hesitated. And if it fails? Then we die like everyone else, Lyria said simply. But if we do nothing, we die anyway. At least this way we choose how. Maya thought of Earth, of her crew, of the quiet nights talking to a dead ship. She nodded. All right, we go. 2 days later, the Aurora's echo drifted near the listening post cloaked in Kale's illusion. The post was a jagged spire of black metal, floating above Saturn's rings. Virith ships patrolled in slow orbits. Inside the shuttle bay, Maya suited up in a modified stealth rig, black, light-absorbent, with no active electronics. Lyria wore no suit. Her skin seemed to drink the shadows. Kyle rested in a pouch on her chest, his eyes half closed. You sure about this? Maya whispered as they boarded the drop pod. No, Lyria admitted. But fear is just a story we tell ourselves to avoid action. The pod launched silently. It skimmed the rings, ice particles glinting like stars. When they reached the post's underbelly, magnetic clamps secured them to the hull. They crawled along maintenance tunnels, avoiding patrols with uncanny ease. Lyria moved like smoke. No sound, no hesitation. Inside the core chamber of the post, they found what they came for, the heart node. A massive crystal pulsing with stolen data, human voices, fleet codes, refugee coordinates. All of it feeding the Virith war machine. Maya planted the charges. Lyria stood guard, eyes scanning the corridor. Kale perched on her shoulder, tense. Just as Maya finished, alarms blared. A Virith patrol had found them. Red lights flashed. Heavy footsteps echoed. Maya grabbed Lyria's arm. Go, they ran. Blaster fire scorched the walls behind them. Lyria didn't look back. She reached the heart node and placed both hands on it. Kale leapt onto the crystal and let out a high-pitched cry. The crystal cracked. Not from the charges, but from within. Light erupted, not red or violet, but gold. The Virith soldiers froze, clutching their heads as if in pain. Their armor flickered, then went dark. What did you do? Maya panted. I didn't, Lyria said, voice strained. Kyle did. He's not just hiding us. He's speaking to them. Showing them something. The Virith dropped to their knees, some wept. Others whispered in a language Maya didn't know. Then the charges detonated. The explosion tore through the post. Maya and Lyria barely made it back to the pod before the whole structure collapsed in a silent fireball. Back on the Aurora's echo, they watched the debris drift. The Virith fleet in the area scattered, confused, leaderless. Maya should have felt victorious. But Lyria sat curled in the corner of the core chamber, pale and shaking. Kyle lay in her lap, his glow dim, his scales dull. What's wrong? Maya asked, kneeling beside her. Lyria looked up, eyes tired. Every time Kale uses his power, he fades a little. Maya's stomach dropped. Fades? What do you mean? He's not just a creature, Lyria whispered. He's a fragment of the Silthari world mind, the last piece of our home. When he bends reality, he burns his own essence. If he burns too much, he vanishes. And when he goes, I go too. Maya stared at the little dragon. He opened one eye and gave a weak chirp. You never told me that, Maya said, voice breaking. I didn't want you to worry, Lyria said. Or stop me, Maya wanted to yell. To demand answers. But all she felt was grief. She had just found someone who understood her, and now that person was slipping away. Without thinking, she reached out and pulled Lyria into a hug. Not for power. Not for a miracle, just because she needed to hold her. This time nothing happened. No lights, no engine surge, no magic, just two people in a broken ship holding on. Lyria buried her face in Maya's shoulder. Her breath hitched. Silent tears fell. Maya held her tighter. Outside, the stars watched. The war raged on, but in that moment, in the quiet heart of a reborn cruiser, something else grew, something fragile, human, and real. Later, as Lyria slept, Maya sat by the console, watching Kale. He blinked slowly at her. You're not just a pet, are you? She whispered. Kale made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. Maya made a promise then, not to the galaxy, not to the fleet, but to herself. She would find another way, a way that didn't cost Lyria her life, a way that didn't burn the last light in the dark, because if a hug could wake a dead ship, maybe kindness could end a war. And maybe, just maybe, what went wrong could still be made right. In the endless dark between stars, where light dared not linger and time itself seemed to hold its breath, the cruiser Aurora's Echo floated like a ghost. Its hull was scarred, its engines cold, and its corridors empty, except for one. Lieutenant Maya Collins moved through the ship with slow, careful steps, her boots clicking against the metal floor. Frost clung to the walls and the air smelled of burnt wires and old fear. She was alone. Or so she thought. Humanity had lost the war. The Virith, a vast alliance of ancient alien species, had crushed Earth's fleets without mercy. They called humans pests, loud and reckless, unworthy of the stars. Most ships were destroyed. Some surrendered. A few, like the Aurora's Echo, vanished into the void, playing dead to survive. Maya had been aboard for weeks, scavenging power cells, patching leaks, and talking to herself just to hear a voice. She was tired, not just in body, but deep in her bones. Then she heard it, a soft hum like wind through crystal chimes. It came from the core chamber, a sealed room deep in the ship's heart. No one should be there. The door had been welded shut after the last battle, yet now it stood slightly ajar, glowing with a pale silver light that pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Maya gripped her sidearm and pushed the door open. Inside, the room was warm. Not just warm, alive. Vines of shimmering energy curled along the walls, and the air shimmered like summer heat over desert sand. In the center, sitting cross-legged on the floor, was a woman. She was tall and slender, with skin like moonlight and long silver hair that seemed to float around her as if underwater. Her eyes were the color of storm clouds, sharp and knowing. Wrapped around her left wrist was a small creature, sleek, scaled, with wings like folded silk and eyes that glowed faint violet. It looked like a dragon, but no bigger than a house cat. It blinked slowly at Maya, unafraid. The woman didn't stand. She didn't even flinch. She just tilted her head and said, "You're late." Maya froze. "Who are you? How did you get on my ship?" The woman smiled. It wasn't a mocking smile. It was calm, almost kind, but it carried the weight of centuries. "My name is Lyria," she said. "And this is Kale." She gently stroked the little dragon's head. Kale purred, a sound like distant thunder wrapped in velvet. Maya tightened her grip on her weapon. "This ship is human military property. You're trespassing. Worse, you're probably Virith spy tech or some kind of trap." Lyria laughed softly. "If I were a trap, you'd already be gone. And if I were Virith, you wouldn't be breathing." She stood slowly, gracefully, as if gravity bowed to her. "I'm neither. I'm Silthari," Maya frowned. "Silthari? That's not a real species. It's a myth. Old human legends talk about star elves who built galaxies, but that's just bedtime stories." "Stories are echoes of truth," Lyria said. "Just because you forgot us doesn't mean we vanished." Maya took a step back. "Prove it." Lyria didn't argue. She simply raised her hand. The vines of light on the walls brightened. The dead console beside her flickered to life, displaying star maps no human had ever seen. Then with a flick of her fingers, the ship's emergency lights, long dead, glowed a soft blue. Maya's jaw dropped. "How?" "The Aurora's Echo isn't just metal and wire," Lyria said. "Your engineers found ruins on Proxima Theta years ago. They didn't know it, but those ruins were ours. They built your ship using pieces of Silthari tech, woven into your systems like hidden roots. You've been flying on borrowed magic." Maya's mind raced. It was true. The Theta ruins had been classified, but rumors said the new fleet ships had strange quirks. Self-healing hulls, engines that ran too quietly, comms that sometimes picked up voices in unknown tongues. She'd always thought it was just advanced alien salvage, but this was different. Lyria watched, her eyes unreadable. "You've been alone for too long, Maya Collins. I felt your loneliness from 3 systems away." "It called to me," Maya bristled. "Don't pretend you know me." "I don't need to pretend," Lyria said gently. "I see you. The way you check the life signs of your dead crew every morning. The way you keep the mess hall lights on, just in case someone walks in. The way you whisper goodnight to the ship like it's a person." Maya's throat tightened. She hadn't told anyone that. No one could have known. Suddenly, anger flared in her chest. This stranger, this impossible elf woman, had walked into her broken world and acted like she owned it. Like she understood everything. And worse, she was right. "You think you're so calm," Maya snapped. "So sure of yourself. Like nothing scares you. Well, guess what? I'm scared all the time. Every second. And you just sit there smiling like it's all some cosmic joke. Lyria didn't look offended. If anything, her expression softened. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, she said. It's choosing to stand anyway, Maya wanted to argue. She wanted to shout, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, something unexpected happened. Her eyes stung. She hadn't cried since the day Earth fell. She looked away, blinking hard. I don't need your wisdom, she muttered. I just need to survive. Silence filled the room. Then Lyria took a step forward. Then let me help. Maya shook her head. How, you're one person, with a pet dragon. Kyle chirped indignantly. Lyria smiled again. Kale is more than a pet. And I am more than one person. But you're right about one thing, I can't fight the Vireth alone. But maybe, together? Maya scoffed. Together? You don't even know how to hold a gun. I don't need to, Lyria said. I reshape reality with a thought. Maya rolled her eyes. Right. And I'm the Queen of Mars. For the first time, Lyria's calm cracked. Just a little. A flicker of frustration crossed her face. Why do you push me away? I'm offering you hope. Because hope gets people killed, Maya shot back. I trusted hope once. I believed we could win. Look where that got us. They stared at each other, the air thick with tension. Outside, the ship groaned softly as if holding its breath. Then, without thinking, Maya did something foolish. Something human. She dropped her weapon. It clattered to the floor. You're so confident, she said, voice quieter now. So sure of yourself. You think you've got it all figured out? Well, fluster me. Go ahead, impress me. Lyria blinked. Fluster you? Yeah, make me nervous. Make me doubt myself. You've been doing it since you opened your mouth. Lyria studied her for a long moment. Then to Maya's surprise, she laughed. A real warm laugh that filled the room like sunlight. You're impossible. And you're infuriating, Maya shot back. But there was no heat in it now. A strange quiet settled between them. Maya felt something shift inside her, not fear, not anger, but something softer. She missed touch. Human touch. Even alien touch if it meant she wasn't alone. Before she could stop herself, she blurted out, Can I have a hug? The words hung in the air. Maya immediately regretted them. It sounded childish, weak. A commander didn't ask for hugs in the middle of a war. But Lyria didn't laugh. She didn't smirk. She simply opened her arms. Maya hesitated, then stepped forward. The moment their bodies touched, something happened. Kale's eyes blazed violet. The vines of light on the walls surged upward like living flames. The floor trembled. Deep within the ship, engines that had been silent for weeks roared to life with a deep, resonant hum. Lights flickered on throughout the Aurora's echo. Consoles beeped. Oxygen recyclers whirred. The ship breathed again. Maya pulled back, stunned. What was that? Lyria looked just as surprised. She glanced at Kale, who was now coiled tightly around her wrist, his glow dimming back to normal. I didn't do that, she whispered. Then who did? Lyria met Maya's eyes, her storm gray gaze wide with wonder. You did. Maya shook her head. No, I just hugged you. Exactly, Lyria said, a slow smile spreading across her face. The Silthari believed that true connection, real unguarded emotion, could awaken dormant power. Your loneliness called me here. Your courage to ask for comfort. That woke the ship. Maya stared at her hands as if they might still be glowing. So, I'm some kind of battery? No, Lyria said firmly. You're a key. And the lock just opened. Outside the core chamber, alarms began to chime, not danger alerts, but system restoration signals. The Aurora's echo was coming back online piece by piece. Maya turned to the console. Star charts bloomed across the screen. A proximity alert flashed. 3 Vireth scout ships closing fast. They must have detected the energy surge. Her heart pounded. We've got company. Lyria didn't panic. She placed a hand on Maya's shoulder. Then let them come. Maya looked at her, really looked. This strange elf woman with her impossible dragon and calm eyes wasn't just a myth. She was real. And for the first time in months, Maya didn't feel alone. She picked up her sidearm, not out of fear, but readiness. All right, she said. But next time, warn me before my hugs reboot a starship. Lyria grinned. No promises. Kale purred again, louder this time, as if laughing. And somewhere in the void, the Aurora's echo began to run. Not away, but toward whatever came next.